And welcome back to Football Picks here on TalkingSports.tv at Charlie Fitzwhiskies. We're going to try to help you with your picks for Week 10 in the NFL, as well as for this weekend's NCAA football picks. On my left, Uncle Ben of UncleBenFootball.com, an extraordinary handicapper, and also not that far behind, if at all, handsome Howard Kamen himself, right here at Charlie Fitzwhiskies. You could read all of Uncle Ben's picks for the weekend at UncleBen'sFootball.com, or if you prefer to chat with Howard, come to Charlie Fitzwhiskies here in Vaughan. He'll personally give you his selections. And guys, there were a couple of disturbing bits of news regarding coaches in the last week, and but they're bound to have some effect on their teams. I don't know how much, but Howard, I know you believe that when Gary Kubiak collapsed at halftime during the Texans game against Indianapolis on Sunday night, the Texans were up 21-3 at halftime, and then Gary Kubiak, the head coach, collapsed on the sideline as the team was heading off the field, and it has been diagnosed as a mini stroke, I guess would be the best way of saying it. And it looks like Wade Phillips, who took over in that second half. I know Wade Phillips very well from his Buffalo days, not too far from where we are in Toronto. And Wade Phillips had some success as a head coach, but he's got to take over this team, and I'll leave it to you guys to determine whether or not Wade Phillips can handle the Texans, or is it just that the Texans now, after this collapse to Indianapolis, are so far gone that they're not even worthy of much attention?
Well, me personally, first of all, I'm happy to hear that Kubiak it wasn't a real serious thing, and he should be back coaching in a few weeks. And when he was carried off the field, everybody, obviously, their heart was in there for him, that he was okay. And I personally bet the Texans that night. I liked them a lot. And based on their first half performance versus their second half performance, it was like night and day. So, I mean, as much as you would say, players would say, you know what, let's put that behind us, let's win the game for him, this and that. Psychologically, it's got to hit them. And also, listen, let's face it, Kubiak, as opposed to Wade Phillips, there's a difference there as far as play calling, getting the team ready. I think it affected the Houston Texans dramatically. I think Houston Texans would not have lost that game had that not have happened on the sidelines. And it was just a very, very unfortunate thing. And one of the bigger collapses in the NFL history. I mean, this team was up 24-6 going into the fourth quarter with one of the better defenses. Indy wasn't able to do anything throughout the whole game, and then all of a sudden, the fourth quarter, everything broke loose for them. So it was just a very, very disturbing night for Houston Texans.
Yeah, it really
followers,
was. It was an awful night. And the Texans are out of playoff contention now, when they might have not been had they been able to hang on. So they go into Arizona this Sunday, Uncle Ben, and the Cardinals are favored by 3 points. With Wade Phillips on the sideline, who wins this game and who covers?
Just to talk about Kubiak for one more second before we get to the game, Marty. I think the Houston Texans have thrown in the towel already before last week, to be honest with you, as evidenced by starting Case Keenum the last couple of weeks. They want to see what Case has got. Obviously, Matt Schaub, is not taking them to the promised land. Gary Kubiak was under the hot seat, having losing 5 in a row after they won their first 2 games. And their first 2 games, they didn't win convincing, by the way. They beat the San Diego Chargers on the first opening Monday night. Miraculous comeback. They could have lost that game easily. I think they beat the Tennessee Titans in overtime, second week. So really, this team could be 0-8 just as easy. So I think Kubiak was feeling huge pressure. And, that was probably the contributing factor to his mini stroke, if you will, down in Houston last Sunday night. And then, back to Wade Phillips. Wade Phillips is a good defensive coordinator. Always has been, always will be. Head coaching, anytime he gets on the hot seat, he falls right off. Telling you.
He's no head coach.
He's not a head coach, this guy. I don't see them doing much this week getting to the game. Arizona is a team that's actually in playoff contention with Bruce Arians back running the show there.
Yes.
Carson Palmer's a veteran quarterback. I'm not a huge Carson Palmer fan, but nevertheless, their defense is very strong. They got a set of great wide receivers. They do play tough in the desert. I got to go with the Arizona Cardinals this week against a team that's sort of lost their way. They've lost 6 in a row. They got a backup head coach, if you will, and a fresh rookie quarterback. it just doesn't look good for the Houston Texans. And like I said, I think this team is really thrown in the towel for the rest of the season.
I have a tough time ever picking any team that has Carson Palmer as a quarterback, as you said. I'm not wild about him either. I think Carson Palmer was overrated from day one, even before his knee surgeries. I mean, to me, Carson Palmer is not a winner. Having said that, this Texan team's in a whole bunch of trouble, Handsome. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, actually, I was at the Arizona Cardinal game, their last game against the Falcons, and I was impressed by the way Arizona, especially their defense, played. And I mean, Carson Palmer, he's nothing fancy, but he's got great wide receiver. Anytime you got Larry Fitzgerald going after the ball, all you got to do is get it near him, and he'll make the play. Their running game also, I forget the kid's name, but he broke an 80-yard play for a touchdown.
Richardson.
Yeah, so I think Arizona's a team that is a team to look out for in the second half of the season. I mean, they're playing good football, and going against a team with Houston with nothing going for them right now, Arizona plays very well in that stadium. I could see Arizona giving them a good finger-licking defeat that game.
All right, now the other coach that unfortunately found himself in hospital last week was John Fox, the head coach of the Denver Broncos. Fox was on the golf course when he started feeling some tightness in his chest. He ended up with heart valve surgery, and he's out for a couple of months, I think. He certainly will not be on the sidelines when the Broncos face the Chargers in San Diego this Sunday. Jack Del Rio, the former Jacksonville head coach and the defensive coordinator for Denver, will fill in for John Fox on the sidelines. The Chargers are 7-point underdogs at home. In other words, the line makers, guys, are thinking that the Broncos will do just fine without John Fox. Ben, what are your thoughts about what happens in this game between Denver and San Diego minus John Fox?
Well, John Fox's situation was vastly different from the Gary Kubiak situation. Fox was actually in North Carolina they had a bye week last week. He was on vacation. He has a home there, and he actually had a doctor's checkup on Thursday because he was scheduled to have this heart valve surgery in February anyway. I don't know if you guys were aware of that.
No.
So his doctor actually said to him, if you feel any discomfort, react right away to it. It turns out 2 days later he has this discomfort on the golf course, like you mentioned.
I bet the doc put the bee in his bonnet.
I don't know if that, maybe that could be. Your brain can play funny things on you. But anyhow, I think this is a better situation. Not that it's a good situation for John Fox, but I think from a ball club perspective, it's a better situation for the Denver Broncos than it is for the Houston Texans.
Oh, I see.
Okay, as compared to losing their coaches,
Yes,
is all I'm
yes,
saying.
yeah.
Denver's got a pretty solid offensive coordinator, Peyton Manning, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Okay, and Jack Del Rio was their defensive coach. I don't think Jack's going to, go into Peyton's and do anything. Peyton, you do whatever you need to do. I'll handle the defense. Whereas Wade Phillips now has to. Gary Kubiak was calling the plays for the Houston Texans. So bigger impact is all I'm trying to say, as opposed to John Fox. So I think the Denver Broncos aren't going to have that much of an adjustment, to be honest with you. This team sort of is a machine. They're rolling forward. The parts are still in place. Manning on offense, Del Rio on defense. But I do think that the San Diego Chargers, who absolutely blew that game last Saturday, Sunday, excuse me.
First
they had first and goal from the 1-inch line, and they couldn't get it in. Turns out they lost the game in overtime. This is a big game for the San Diego Chargers this week. They do play well at home. They're playing against their hated division rivals. They've lost 3 in a row to the Denver Broncos. And I just think this game is going to be a real high-scoring. Phillip Rivers is back on his game. Mike McCoy, who used to be the offensive coordinator, co-offensive coordinator at Denver last year with Peyton Manning, is now coaching the San Diego Chargers. So there's a bit of a rivalry or something to prove there, perhaps. And I just think the Chargers are going to be in this game, and they could possibly win it.
All right, so Ben takes the Chargers and the 7 points. Handsome Howard?
I just want to make one comment what I heard Gruden say on Monday night about NFL coaches today. And this is why he's in the press box, not coaching anywhere. He goes, people don't realize the amount of stress and work it takes to be an NFL coach today, how they're under the pressure on every single play, every single week. And,
it's beyond that. If I can interrupt, it's not just the plays, Howard. These guys, and Dick Vermeil started this, the ex-head coach. These guys report to work at 2, 3 in the morning.
Crazy
and
hours.
They stay till midnight, 1 in the morning, and they're just looking over films, and they're making plays, and they have meetings.
Sometimes they stay overnight even.
Sometimes
Some of these guys never sleep. They're watching
Right.
films night and day. So he was saying that this isn't something that people should be taking for lightly. Like, this might be an epidemic where these coaches just are under so much humanly unexpected pressure.
And Chris Collinsworth of NBC actually sent a note to Roger Goodell suggesting that take advantage of these two incidents to show that this could happen to coaches.
Yeah.
And make it absolutely illegal for coaches to be at work beyond 7 p.m. at night.
Well, yeah, because Brian Billick also said this week, he was putting in 100 hours a week when he was the coach of the Baltimore Ravens.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you're talking about a risk,
if you're not sleeping and you're under the gun incredibly. I mean, you make a bad call, you make a bad play, everybody wants your neck.
Yes. The scrutiny level is extremely high. Let's say.
It is.
So just a note I took into when I heard Gruden say that. I agree with Ben on the San Diego-Denver game. I think anytime you have a home team that's a 7-point dog in an interdivisional game, you got to go with the home dog. I'm not even putting the question of the coach in there because I don't think with Denver it's going to make that much of a difference. I just think that it's going to be a very close game. I think it's going to be back and forth all game, probably high scoring like you mentioned, and I think this game could be a field goal either way.
All right, Handsome Howard Kamen, Uncle Ben Walderman, I'm Marty York. We're giving you picks for your NFL pools or whatever you're into for this weekend. We're going to do the NCAA as well with Uncle Ben towards the end of the program. But coming up next, we're going to pick the brains of the experts and get their best bets. These are the moments that you're waiting for. So don't go away.